Marlon Brando's grandson got iced out of the family will, but at least he inherited his grandfather's face. Once you see the resemblance between these generations of stars, you can never unsee it. Elvis wasn't only the king of rock and roll, he was also the father of Lisa Marie Presley. While Lisa Marie told CMT that her children have all got a little bit of Elvis in them, it's her first child, Benjamin Keough, who was the spitting image of his famous grandfather, according to Newsweek. Born in 1992, Benjamin never took to the slicked-back style of his grandfather, but looking at photos, you can definitely tell they're related, as the millennial had the same enchanting eyes, fine facial features, and sultry expression. Lisa Marie admitted to CMT, "It is just uncanny. Sometimes I am overwhelmed when I look at him." Heartbreakingly, on July 12, 2020, tragedy struck when Benjamin was found dead at the age of 27 from apparent suicide. Lisa Marie's manager told TMZ, "She's completely heartbroken, inconsolable, and beyond devastated, but trying to stay strong for her 11-year-old twins and her oldest daughter, Riley. She adored that boy. He was the love of her life." Screen legend Elizabeth Taylor was an amazing, rowdy, badass, passionate pioneer, actress, activist, philanthropist, grandma, according to her grandson, Quinn Tivey. The son of Taylor's daughter, Liza Todd, Quinn was obviously fond of his grandmother, describing her as an amazing matriarch.
I always knew her as grandma, but in her real life, she was still larger than life.
While Quinn is carrying on Taylor's looks, with his dark crown of hair, dramatic brows, fair complexion, and striking eyes, he's also carrying on her legacy in another way. In 2016, the artist became the co-trustee for his grandmother's trust, which is behind the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation. While speaking about the star's work with the organization, which she started in 1991, he explained, "She could not stand to see social injustice or unfairness around her, but she knew she had the capacity to do a lot. She had a platform by virtue of her celebrity, and she knew how to use it." Cameron Douglas may not have looked like his legendary grandpa Kirk when he was younger, but, well, life has a way of changing a person. After he spent 7 years in prison for drug-related charges, the Los Angeles Times ran a headline that read, "Fresh from prison, Cameron Douglas is now a ripped and tatted version of Kirk Douglas." While Cameron does indeed mirror his late grandfather's appearance, there is much more between these two than just a passing resemblance. While opening up about their relationship following his grandfather's passing in February 2020, Cameron told The Hollywood Reporter, "He was always there, always supportive, and he believed in me even when maybe I had given up on myself. He made sure I knew that." That special bond is something that Cameron wanted to foster between his beloved grandfather and his own child, Lua Izzy Douglas. He explained, "My daughter is a little over 2 years old now, and they spent a lot of time together over the past year and a half. He would light up every time she was around." Sadly, that's the kind of relationship that the next pair never got to experience. You may not recognize Camille Gottlieb's name, but she holds an interesting place within the royal family of Monaco. Her grandmother, Grace Kelly, famously left Hollywood behind to become a princess when she married Prince Rainier III in 1956. Camille was born after her grandmother's death and is the daughter of Kelly's youngest daughter, Princess Stephanie of Monaco. Camille, however, is not a princess because her father was a palace guard who wasn't married to her mother. Despite that, Camille is still clearly one member of the family who shares her late grandmother's sophisticated looks. Put Grace Kelly in the Instagram age, and their feeds might have been identical. Living a rather fabulous life in Monte Carlo and abroad, Camille is often lounging around on the beach or spending time in the snowy mountains. When she travels, it's to fabulous events like Paris Fashion Week. However, as Camille gets older, she may be growing up to look like someone else, her mother. Ola wrote in 2019, "Even though it has been said that Camille Gottlieb inherited Grace Kelly's beauty, the young Monaco royal looks more and more like her mom, Stephanie of Monaco, each day." Former Beatle Sir Paul McCartney is the proud grandpa of 8 grandchildren, including the oldest of the bunch, Arthur Donald. The son of the singer's daughter, Mary, and television producer Alistair Donald, Arthur may not be following in his grandfather's footsteps career-wise. Instead, he's getting an Ivy League education at Yale University. But he is carrying on the star's casually cool vibe. That became obvious in 2018 when the pair were spotted together in London dressed in the same style as each other.
Do you think your grandchildren, when did they become aware?
They're kind of aware, but they don't go crazy about it.
In June 2024, Arthur was confirmed to be in a relationship with Bill Gates' daughter, Phoebe. Like Grandpa says, all you need is love. Hollywood superstar Goldie Hawn seems to love her family even more than she loves to dance, and if you've seen her social media, then you know that's saying a lot. The actress is the mother to 3 children and the grandmother to 6 grandkids, including her mini-me, little Rio. The daughter of Hawn's son, Oliver Hudson, and his wife, actress Erin Bartlett, Rio not only shares her grandma's blonde hair, sweet smile, and adorable features, they also apparently have the same free-spirited nature. Even Hawn called the young one a chip off the old block. The fact that they're basically the same person is likely why the pair obviously enjoy each other's company. Hawn was sure to show up to Rio's preschool graduation day in 2017, where the duo was twinning and matching flower crowns. And the actress even brought Rio to an event in November 2019, posting a photo of the two on Instagram, along with a caption saying that she couldn't have picked a better date. You may have gotten to know Ethan Peck from the 10 Things I Hate About You TV series, or you might be used to seeing him as Spock on Star Trek Strange New Worlds, but did you know that his grandfather was one of the most respected actors of all time? That's right, Ethan's father is former industry figure Stephen Peck, the son of the late Gregory Peck. He's remembered for his roles in To Kill a Mockingbird, Roman Holiday, and many more beloved films. Ethan told the New York Post in 2016, "We share the name, but it feels like my own. He was grandpa and also an icon. It's still hard for me to fathom the level at which he was appreciated on an international scale."
How lucky, to be born into this body, in this city, in this life, you know what I mean? The circumstances could be very different.
Ethan backed up that stance during an interview with Entertainment Tonight, although the outlet points out that there's no denying the leading man qualities the two share, and that includes physical qualities. The daughter of the late Carrie Fisher and granddaughter of star Debbie Reynolds, Billie Lourd is making her own way in Hollywood with roles on shows like Scream Queens and American Horror Story, as well as movies such as Booksmart and, naturally, Star Wars movies. While sitting down for an interview on The Ellen DeGeneres Show in 2017, Lourd not only referred to both Fisher and Reynolds as goddesses, she also opened up about losing her grandmother on December 28, 2016, just one day after her mother's passing. While the pain around losing both women will hopefully fade in time, one thing that will remain is the fact that Lourd will likely always see hints of her grandmother in her own face when she looks in the mirror. Steve McQueen was an anti-hero star in the 60s and 70s thanks to roles in films like The Cincinnati Kid, Bullet, and The Great Escape. His grandson, Stephen R. McQueen, is also an actor who you may have seen in shows like Everwood, Chicago Fire, and The Vampire Diaries. The relationship is pretty obvious when you compare the pair's similar features, such as their jawlines and noses. Talking about his connection with the Hollywood great, Stephen told Vanity Fair, "Luckily, I've got a generation gap between me and him, but more than anything, it's a little fuel in the fire." While Stephen said that he always admired his grandfather's work, he added that at the end of the day, you have to be true to what's inside. That's why he's opted to take on dark roles like Jeremy Gilbert in The Vampire Diaries, who Stephen says was as messed up as possible in the head.
I've drifted towards characters with issues, or like I said, the outsiders that don't really have a voice.
Apple Martin became famous the moment her parents, actress Gwyneth Paltrow and Coldplay singer Chris Martin, announced that they had named her after fruit. However, as she's gotten older, she's made headlines because she not only looks like her mom, she also looks like her grandmother, actress Blythe Danner. Just take a look at Apple's eyes, her nose, her cheekbones, the shape of her face, her hair. Every feature confirms her lineage. Their resemblance was even pointed out by journalist Derek Blasberg in September 2019, when he shared a picture of the trio on Instagram and wrote, "Today is Paltrow's birthday, but let's celebrate the entire Danner-Paltrow-Martin bloodline. The apple doesn't fall from the tree, and neither does Apple." As for any other ways that she follows in her family's footsteps, well, we'll just have to wait a little longer to see. In 2022, she enrolled at Vanderbilt University and still has her whole life in front of her. Thanks to her highly recognizable last name, you probably guessed that model and actress Dree Hemingway is related to Nobel Prize-winning writer Ernest Hemingway, his great-granddaughter to be precise. Ernest's big bushy beard obviously gets in the way of some comparisons, but the shape of the eyes and the nose bear unmistakable traces of the American novelist. Dree revealed that it took her some time to embrace the importance of her granddad. It must have been a lot to take in. After all, she even attended a school named after him, Ernest Hemingway Elementary School. When asked if she reads Ernest's work, Dree told Elle in 2015, "I studied it in school, but I was really not into it." Despite that, Dree said that as she's gotten older, she's been willing to acknowledge her great-grandfather's literary contributions, and while she admitted that she doesn't know anything about the writer beyond what you could find in a biography, she has read a lot about him, adding, I can definitely feel that we're from the same family. We both like to travel, we enjoy the same things. Dree might have been able to get the same feeling just by looking at a picture of her great-grandfather and comparing his face to her own. Stella Banderas comes from Hollywood royalty. She's the daughter of Antonio Banderas and Melanie Griffith, the half-sister of Dakota Johnson, and the granddaughter of Tippi Hedren, who most famously starred in Alfred Hitchcock's 1963 horror film The Birds. Although Stella certainly shows off her Banderas roots when she embraces her dark hair, it's clear that her looks go right on down the family tree. Along with her looks, Stella is active on Instagram and appears to be taking a few tentative steps into the acting world, as she appeared in a 2024 Mercedes-Benz commercial with her dad. Audrey Hepburn was perhaps the quintessential starlet of her time, starring in many treasured films like 1961's Breakfast at Tiffany's or 1953's Roman Holiday. However, unless you're familiar with her personal life, you might not have known that in 1954, she married actor Mel Ferrer. The two had a son together, Sean Hepburn Ferrer, who is the father of Audrey's granddaughter, Emma Ferrer. A former model and current artist, Emma may be able to mimic her grandmother's elegant appearance, but she also strikes out with her own personal style. Emma admitted to InStyle, "I used to struggle a lot with people wondering whether I looked like her or dressed like her. It's been eye-opening for me to realize I can choose the way that I want to carry on her legacy and at the same time follow my own path." Thanks to that effort, Emma feels like her grandmother would be proud.
It's an inspiration, it's a responsibility in a good way, in the best of ways.
Lucille Ball was a beloved television star alongside her on-screen and real-life husband, Desi Arnaz. The I Love Lucy duo passed away in the late 80s, and sadly, their great-granddaughter has also passed away. Desiree Anzalone inherited Ball's features with the dark Arnaz hair and often addressed the comparisons between her appearance and that of her great-grandmother. While you might think that sharing Ball's beauty would have given Anzalone a ticket to an easy ride through life, she actually endured a self-destructive youth, per Model Citizen magazine. Anzalone passed away at the age of 31 in 2020 after a battle with breast cancer. Marlon Brando's grandson, Tukey, may not be as famous as the late actor, but as The Telegraph put it, there's no concealing the brooding good looks that Tukey inherited from his grandfather. However, that's apparently all he inherited from Marlon. When his mother, Cheyenne Brando, was pregnant with him, his uncle Christian Brando shot and killed Tukey's father. Tukey then lost his mother 5 years later when she died by suicide at just 25 years old. However, the younger Brando still had more to deal with in the years to come. When Tukey was 13, Marlon passed away and completely left Tukey out of his will. That string of tragedies and misfortune hasn't stopped Tukey from forging his own path in life. He's enjoyed a career as a model with brands like Technomarine timepieces and Versace, while also walking the runway for Dolce & Gabbana. The daughter of Kiefer and granddaughter of Donald, Sarah Sutherland not only shares similarities with her grandpa, but she's also followed her elders into show business. If you were a fan of HBO's Veep, then you'll recognize her as Catherine, the daughter of Selena. Despite both Sarah's dad and grandpa being in the business, and the fact that she shares the same smile, nose, and face shape with the younger version of her grandpa, she hasn't relied on family to help her succeed. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Kiefer admitted during an interview with Live with Kelly and Ryan that he doesn't even know the name of his daughter's agent. He's even tried to get her on board with some of his own films, but Sarah was determined to make her own connections.
And she respectfully declined because she didn't want the association.
Sarah backed that up while talking to The Cut, saying, "I was very adamant that I wanted to arrive at navigating the industry in my own right without help from them." Charlie Chaplin was one of the most famous faces during Hollywood's silent era. He was also the father of 11 children, including 8 with his 4th wife, Una O'Neill. One of those kids was Geraldine Chaplin, the mother of Una Chaplin, who was obviously named after her grandma. But when it comes to her looks, Una has the same features as her grandpa. The only thing that could make them appear more alike is if she were to wear Charlie's signature outfit. Despite their shared appearance, Una told Independent, "When people say Charlie Chaplin, I still think now of the guy in the mustache and bowler hat and funny walk. I don't think of an old man who was my grandfather." Clearly, she got both looks and talent from her grandfather. Una's appeared in The Longest Ride, Quantum of Solace, and Game of Thrones, to name a few major projects. She's also been cast in James Cameron's Avatar sequels. Beyond being a famous actress, Jane Fonda has a habit of taking a strong stance on certain issues. That's something that she's passed down to her granddaughter, Viva Vadim. Viva shares Fonda's slight smile and delicate nose, and even has the darker version of her grandma's bright eyes. Young Viva shares Fonda's activist ways and willingness to face legal repercussions when it comes to standing up for what they believe in. During one of the star's Fire Drill Friday climate change protests in 2019, Fonda captioned an Instagram photo of herself and her granddaughter, "With my granddaughter Viva Vadim, who got arrested with 38 others today." Passing down your looks is one thing, but passing down a passion for saving the planet is priceless. Drew Barrymore may be known on her own merits as a movie star, but she happens to come from an acting dynasty that stretches back for 400 years and included her grandfather, John Barrymore. The actress talked about her grandfather during an appearance at the 2011 TCM Film Festival, saying, "He is the one, for whatever reason we gravitate towards who we do, that I felt the deepest connection to." Drew also recalled how, as a child, she tried to form a bond with the man who passed away in 1942, years before she was born in 1975. It's funny, because when I was a kid, I used to always think that he was the moon, and that was the way that I could always find him and I could always talk to him. I always felt he was nearby. Chris Pine has starred in films of all genres, but movies like 2009's Star Trek and 2018's A Wrinkle in Time have established him as a dependable leading man in sci-fi. That's the kind of resume that surely would have made his grandmother Anne Gwynn very proud. Gwynn appeared in sci-fi serials like Flash Gordon Conquers the Universe, as well as westerns and musical comedies. Beyond that, the actress was something of a horror icon and can be seen in over 40 films, including classics like 1940's Black Friday, 1941's The Black Cat, and 1944's House of Frankenstein.
I see glimpses of a strange world. A world of people who are dead.
Aside from an affinity for the otherworldly, Pine also inherited the classically striking features that made his grandmother shine in those old black and white films. The world knows Ringo Starr by his stage name, but to his friends and family, he's likely known by his real name, Richard Starkey. Starr has 7 grandchildren, and the eldest in that sizable brood is Tatya Starkey. Like her gramps, Tatya also has a stage name. Sometimes going by Veronica Avant, Tatya has played bass for the band Bellicus, as well as the rock band My Vitriol. And while she didn't necessarily inherit Ringo's passion for percussion, she did get her grandfather's dark hair and oval face. Tatya may have also passed those features down to her own little one. While Tatya's arrival in 1985 made Ringo the first Beatle to become a grandfather, Tatya's son gave Ringo the honor of becoming the Fab Four's first great-grandfather as well. Aerosmith frontman Steven Tyler is another rock star who is also a family man. He's the father of 3 daughters, including actress Liv Tyler, and from the looks of Steven's Instagram posts, he's one grandpa who shows up for the special moments in the lives of his kids and grandkids. And although she's still just a child, Liv's daughter Lula Rose is already the spitting image of her rocker Gramps. While discussing his relationships with his grandchildren with People in 2018, the singer revealed that the brood calls him Papa Stevie and said, "The really young ones don't know me yet. When they get a little older and know me, see me on TV, I think things will change. That's so amazing when that happens." No doubt, when that happens, little Lula Rose may also notice that she shares a distinctive resemblance to Papa Stevie. As the grandpa and granddaughter continue to spend time together, we'll likely notice that resemblance strengthening. There's no doubt that Jenna Bush Hager is a member of the Bush family. Even if her name didn't give it away, she clearly looks like her grandpa, George H.W. Bush. A year after the former U.S. leader passed away on November 30th, 2018, the TV personality logged onto Instagram to share a collection of photos, including 2 that featured the grandfather and granddaughter together, proving that they shared a resemblance from the time she was a young child. Jenna wrote in the caption, "He is gone, but he left behind a family that loves each other. We talked yesterday about how much we love him and each other." She continued by saying that he showed others that serving with humility is the best way to serve, and that living with kindness and generosity of spirit is the best way to live. The granddaughter of the late President John F. Kennedy and First Lady Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis Rose Kennedy Schlossberg is a member of the political family who is carrying on more than just the famous name.
Who are you wearing? Who are you wearing?
Although Rose spent her childhood mostly out of the spotlight, as an adult, she's definitely grown into the family looks, particularly those of her famous grandmother. With dark hair usually worn short, she almost perfectly mimics the hairdos that Jackie O was famous for. Beyond that, Rose has the same eyes, smile, and facial shape as her grandma, which simply can't be ignored when you see her. While Rose may look like her grandmother, she doesn't seem to have aspirations related to public service, but she does work in video production. In 2016, Rose created and starred in a comedy web series called End Times Girls Club, which showcased her quick wit and comedic sensibility, and she's worked behind the scenes on other productions as well. Once again proving that the Kennedy genes are strong, Connor Kennedy has grown up to look just like a younger version of his grandpa, the late Robert F. Kennedy. Thanks to their eyes, their noses, and their matching chins, this grandfather and grandson could easily be brothers. However, if Connor looks familiar to you, it may be for a reason other than the family resemblance. The younger Kennedy found himself in the news in 2016 when he was arrested for disorderly conduct after being involved in a fight outside a nightclub. Connor's father came to his defense, saying that his son had been protecting a friend who had been called a homophobic slur, according to the New York Times. The Harvard attendee also made headlines in 2012 when he dated pop superstar Taylor Swift.
There is a lot of talk about you and the Kennedys these days.
Is there?
That relationship came and went, and as of 2024, Connor is engaged to singer Julia B. Despite still being a child, it's abundantly clear that Princess Charlotte is taking after her great-grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II. In fact, it's pretty darn cute how much the two looked alike. Charlotte not only looks like her late great-grandmother, but the young royal also has a similar personality. And the resemblance is even more clear looking at photos of Queen Elizabeth as a child. While the Queen's passing affected the entire royal family, there's no doubt that it was especially tough for the princess dubbed her mini-me. There are a few pairs of royals who share similar features, and that list definitely includes Prince Harry and his late grandfather, Prince Philip. If you compare photos of a young Philip and a modern Harry, it's clear that the two had strikingly similar features. As Hello Magazine noted, Harry started showing a likeness to the Duke of Edinburgh from a very young age when he was a teenager and shared the same mannerisms and expressions. The similarities helped form a bond between the two that was honored when Harry gave his son Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor a last name that partially comes from Prince Philip's side. Jason Ritter, who's appeared on shows like Parenthood and Joan of Arcadia, is another show business pro who comes from entertainment royalty. Jason is the grandson of Tex Ritter, a pioneer of country music who is one of the first inductees into the Country Music Hall of Fame. Known as the Singing Cowboy, Tex appeared in over 70 films and recorded countless hit songs before his death from a heart attack in 1974. Jason, who was born 6 years following his grandfather's passing, inherited Tex's features, ears, smile, jawline, and everything in between, and opened up about his famous family to CMT in 2005, saying, "I have kind of just accepted the fact that people are going to compare me to my dad. No one has compared me to Tex yet. Well, now they have." To Whoopi Goldberg's fans, she'll always be the singing nun from Sister Act. But to Amara Skye, the actress is simply Granny.
You made me a grandmother when I was 33.
The daughter of Goldberg's only child, Alexandria Martin, Skye inherited her grandma's eyes and smile, as well as her granny's cherubic cheeks. She also shares her grandmother's birthday, plus her fondness for being in front of the camera. However, while her grandmother opts for comedy and political commentary, Skye likes to share photos of herself on Instagram. Another family lookalike popped up in 2014 with Skye's own daughter. Iconic actress Angelica Houston's grandfather, Walter Houston, was a veteran of vaudeville, Broadway, and film, who also shared the Addams Family star's dark and elegant looks, as well as her acting ability. They both portrayed a knack for both comedy and drama that didn't go unnoticed by filmgoers of their respective eras. He won a Best Supporting Actor Oscar for The Treasure of the Sierra Madre in 1949, while she won the Best Actress in a Supporting Role Oscar for Prizzi's Honor in 1986. Angelica's dad, John Houston, was also a performer and once opened up about Walter, saying that his father's occupation as an actor simply meant that he never saw him. Angelica claimed that fact applied to her father as well. It seems as though looking alike and sharing a profession didn't necessarily bring this family any closer in the end. Brendan Wayne is another grandkid who inherited his family's looks and went into the family business. His grandfather, John Wayne, was famous for westerns, and Brendan has sort of carried on that legacy in a modern sense. He appeared in Cowboys and Aliens, as well as on the show Sons of Anarchy, which is more or less a neo-western. He even got in on the quintessential modern space western, The Mandalorian. The younger Wayne appears as one of the body doubles for The Mandalorian across the 3 seasons. It's kind of a full circle moment for the Waynes, since John Wayne's The Searchers provided some inspiration for George Lucas when he created Star Wars. Brendan may have a slightly thinner face, but shares features that are just like those seen in the face of the older actor. And with a light beard and suitable cowboy hat, we imagine he would have fit right in with the cast of one of his grandpa's gunslinging stories. Pablo Dillon, the son of Bob Dylan's oldest child, Jesse, has the exact same mopey mane as his grandfather, but the similarities don't end there. Like the 60s icon, Pablo is also a singer-songwriter who works with a similar musical style. But that wasn't always the case. You might be surprised to find out that Pablo started out in rap and hip-hop before trying out the kind of folk rock that made his grandfather a star. Pablo opened up to GQ in 2011 about attempting to make his name in a business where his grandfather was both beloved and idolized, saying, "I understand why people compare the two of us, but if the situation was any different, I don't think we'd even be mentioned in the same sentence."
You don't decide to be born. You don't decide to die. Right. So what really can you decide?
Along with being the famous mother of 6 children, Kris Jenner is the grandmother of 10, the eldest being Kourtney Kardashian's son, Mason Disick. And considering his birth was filmed for the family's reality TV show Keeping Up with the Kardashians, it's no wonder that Kris's grandson is a chip off the old block. Along with inheriting his grandmother's dark hair, dark eyes, and the shape of her face, similarities that are even more striking when you see a younger version of the reality star, Mason also got Kris's snazzy style and her bold attitude. Meet Jude, who is clearly Martha Stewart's granddaughter.
Bonjour.
The older child of Stewart's daughter, Alexis, Jude is the spitting image of her famous grandmother. Even as a toddler, the likeness was unmistakable. Unsurprisingly, the woman who's famous for creating homey atmospheres seems to enjoy spending time with her own family. This, of course, includes time with the grandkids. Stewart often shares snaps from their get-togethers on Instagram, reinforcing just how much she and Jude look alike. Clark Gable was an Academy Award-winning actor who appeared in classic movies like 1934's It Happened One Night, 1935's Mutiny on the Bounty, and surely his most famous film 1939's Gone with the Wind. His grandson, Clark Gable III, had the same dark and handsome good looks that helped make the elder Gable a Hollywood icon. However, his grandson is someone you might have seen on television as opposed to the big screen, as the host of Cheaters from 2012 to 2013. Clark Gable III once opened up about his legendary grandfather to Access Hollywood and admitted that even he could see similarities to a certain extent. Sadly, the younger Gable passed away in February 2019 at the age of 30. A medical examiner found that the cause of his death was an accidental drug overdose. With his passing, it became clear that there was estrangement behind the scenes with Clark Gable III and his father, who reportedly refused to pay for his own son's funeral or let him be buried in the Gable family plot, according to the Daily Mail. Sometimes real-life family drama is sadder than what we see in the movies. We may not hear much about Bridget Fonda these days, but before she stepped back from the spotlight, she appeared in movies throughout the 90s. Her father, Peter Fonda, and aunt, Jane Fonda, are also Hollywood stars, as was her grandfather, Henry Fonda. Put aside a night to watch a handful of classic films like 12 Angry Men or Once Upon a Time in the West to see the elder Fonda in action. There's plenty of family resemblance that was passed down from Henry to his children and grandchildren, which can be seen in Bridget. Henry's eyes, his lips, his chin, every one of the star's facial features seems to be mirrored in the face of his granddaughter. Although it's unclear whether or not Bridget will return to the screen anytime soon, her fans would surely love to see her familiar face sooner rather than later. The Coppola family is bigger than you might realize. Not only does it include patriarch Carmine Coppola, who was the Oscar-winning composer behind the music heard in The Godfather Part 2, but also his son, Francis Ford Coppola, who directed the Godfather films, among many others. Francis's daughter, Sofia Coppola, is also an Oscar-worthy director. But there's also Coppola blood running around that you may not even know about, like Jason Schwartzman, the son of Carmine Coppola's daughter, Talia Shire.
Who do you like better, your cousin Nicolas Cage or your cousin Sofia Coppola?
Well, Apples and oranges.
The actor can actually thank his grandfather for his features. Both fellows shared the same nose, chin, and bold eyebrows, although the actor has a heck of a lot more hair than Carmine did as an older man. However, if Schwartzman ends up losing some of his luscious locks down the road, he may end up looking even more like his grandfather. Joan Rivers was not only famous for her comedic skills and hot takes on celebrity style, she was also known as a devoted mother to her daughter, Melissa Rivers. Melissa is herself a mother to Edgar Cooper Endicott, who goes by Cooper. Fans may remember him from the star's reality TV show Joan and Melissa, Joan Knows Best.
Incoming!
Endicott looks uncannily like a younger version of Joan. He has the very same smile, the same nose, and the same facial shape as his grandma, although his eyes are much lighter. And while he obviously inherited his grandmother's appearance, he got his first name from his grandfather, Edgar Rosenberg. Patty Duke is another icon whose family followed in her footsteps. Her son, Sean Astin, got into the business early on, thanks to movies like The Goonies and Encino Man, and of course, Lord of the Rings. Sean is also the father of Allie Astin, who was just a toddler when she popped up at the end of The Return of the King as Sam's daughter. Allie has the same lovely looks as her grandmother, including her nose and red hair. When she shared a photo of Duke beside a photo of herself in December 2017, the similarities were impossible to ignore, and the younger woman's followers couldn't help but comment on the resemblance, writing things like, "I see her so much in you," and "You look like your grandma." In March 2020, Taylor Lynn shared a screenshot of an article that claims she looked exactly like her grandmother, country legend Loretta Lynn. In the caption, she wrote, "Nothing makes me happier than this." The article laid out the similarities, saying, Taylor Lynn could portray the country music superstar without question. From those high cheekbones to that infectious smile, it's clear that the apple didn't fall far from the tree. A singer-songwriter herself, the resemblance is even more obvious when the younger Lynn takes on tunes like her grandmother's beloved hit, "You Ain't Woman Enough to Take My Man," which she performed for Today in Nashville.
She has helped mold me, I guess, into what I'm doing today.
Taylor even took the stage with her grandmother to perform as a duo. The moment was surely a thrill for fans, and we imagine will be one that Taylor will remember for the rest of her life since her grandmother passed away in 2022. If you're a fan of the BBC period drama series Call the Midwife, then you're likely also a fan of Charlotte Ritchie, who played Barbara Gilbert on the show from 2015 to 2018. Or maybe you know her from 2023's Wonka, or from any of her other dozens of roles. However, you might not have known that she comes from a family of actors. Her mother, Kate Burton, is also an actress, as is her grandfather, Richard Burton, who was famous for Cleopatra and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, as well as many more. And there's definitely a resemblance between Ritchie and her grandfather, the man who was once, or rather twice, married to Elizabeth Taylor. The same eyes, nose, smile, and magnificent mane of hair that helped Burton establish himself as a Hollywood Golden Age movie star in the 50s are the same features that helped land Ritchie a flourishing career in her own era.